Okay, and during the break, I wanted to make sure that we're on track sa public mind kung anong mga tanong. So I asked our crew, camera crew, ano bang tanong? Ang sagot kung authorized naman, walang problema. Of course, ang tanong ng iba, bakit nagpa-volunteer kung nag-volunteer si Senator Trillanes to be the back channel? I think that's perfectly good. Kasi nakikita niya na merong importanteng gawin at siya ay nag-alok ng kanyang tulong. That's may nagsa-circulate. Let me see if I can find that text na pinapalabas nitong mga nagte-text paninira kay Senator Trillanes. Anyway, sinasabi daw dito inbox let's see. Marami to. Anyway, sinasabi dito, meron pa lang 70 billion pesos ang investment. Give me a little more time. Wala, ang dami nitong text. Anyway, hindi ko makita. Na may 70 billion daw. Kaya pala si Trillanes gusto mag-back channel. Una-una, 70 billion pesos is too big for any one deal, even with China. That's equivalent to our entire dollar result. 71, 72 billion dollars tayo. But, yung mga nagte-text niya na paninira, hindi nag-iisip. If Senator Trillanes can bring in $70 billion investment, oh my God, that's going to boost the economy for the next 5 years. Anyway, maraming kumakalat na mga ganyan pa. Meron pa tayo isang text Sabi, bugbog sarado si Senator Trillanes sa radyo at sa media ngayon. Baka hindi na nating kilala sa pagmamaga, mga pasapa sa mukha niya. But, well, seems that Manny Pangilinan is affected by all this. Nag-react siya. In fact, may banta daw siya, naaalis siya ng Pilipinas because of all these issues. Well, I'd like to tell him face-to-face, lumayas ka na. Baka bumaba pa ang kuryente namin kaagad-agad paglayas mo. And so on. But anyway, any other issue diyan sa Enrile, Trillanes, Del Rosario? Maybe this issue. Pinapalabas nila Enrile at Del Rosario doon sa pagbabasa, nagpagpipili-pili nila, nababasahin daw doon sa notes ni Sonia Brady na si Senator Trillanes ay nagpapapogi doon sa China daw, and going soft on that. On the other hand, itong si Del Rosario is taking a tough stand for sovereignty and so on. What are your reactions there? There's a policy question here, di ba? Rob?
Well, looking at it, really, this stance of Del Rosario, even before this issue of Trillanes cropped up, it appears that Albert Del Rosario is antagonistic. But underneath that stance of Secretary of Foreign Affairs, he is in fact the one selling American arms to the armed forces of the Philippines.
Okay.
He's behind that together with
Gasmin,
I guess. Because I wouldn't mind the country purchasing this so-called Qatar class,
Hamilton class
we call that
Qattars,
Qattars, aircraft and so forth, or improving our defense establishment, if it can actually alter the balance of power between the Philippines and China, but it will not. In fact, we will only be spending so much money and helping the United States economy. That is how I look at the situation. So, what Secretary Del Rosario should do is try to make a more realistic and pragmatic approach with China, because China today, we cannot avoid that China is an economic giant. We can gain more by befriending that country and by being realistic and trying to solve our problems. You antagonize China, you will get nothing. Pwede kang balikan yan Why don't you, ba't hindi kayo mag-usap? In fact, I'm not really an admirer of Speaker de Venecia, but I remember him, I recall that way back, he issued a statement that why don't we explore the possibility of joint exploration? Joint exploration simply means that everybody na may existing claims dyan sa area na yan will be allowed to, let's say, exploit its natural resources and given an equivalent percentage or share of what is, what do you call that, harvested, the oil na makukuha dyan. So, maganda yan eh. So, there is the so-called claim of sovereignty in the meantime is set aside in terms by substituted by from a business point of view of a corporation, magsosyo na lang tayo dyan.
Yeah.
Kasi pag sovereignty, indivisible yan eh.
So, kaya yan, kaya sabi ko may policy question nga dyan eh. Merong gustong ganito, ay soberenya at nang-aapi ang China and so on. No? Merong, hindi, madaling pag-usapan yan, pero mas konkreto, itong economic sharing, which China has been open to. Isang example ko dyan lagi, soberenya. May soberenya ka sa Malampaya. Ano naman ang share na nakukuha mo sa British and Americans? Yeah. Ang reality, 3%. Sabi, 10%. Pero aawasin pang taxes doon. Tayong nagbabayad ng tax sa sarili natin, hindi yung mga foreign companies. Yung mga investment, iaawas pa doon. Kaya in the end, mga 3% lang. Soberenya daw. That's in Philippine territory. And then they call it a Philippine project. Ayan. Pero dito, may posibilidad, payag ang China sa 50-50% eh. We don't know because we have not seriously discussed it.
We have to explore that possibility. Kasi that was, I think, I haven't heard the Chinese rejecting that proposition, that proposal of former Speaker de Venecia. But as I see it, yun lang ang paraan eh.
Well, kaya pala, among other things, si Del Rosario is the cabinet member with the biggest SALN declaration, around 650 million pesos ang kanyang assets. Well, anyway, I'll just ask for reaction from Gayla and from Cash about what we're discussing. Any reaction?
I really have no. I would like to reserve my comments on that. But I think the bottom line is, if the president decides to employ backdoor negotiations as a policy tool, then it's his call. After all, he's the chief foreign relations policymaker.
Okay. So, Cash?
Yeah, and if I may add, I see it as as you have said earlier, the good cop, bad cop approach. The hard stance of the DFA and the back channeling of Senator Trillanes is a good example of the good cop and bad cop approach. And in the end, what we have is a we have de-escalated detention in the Scarborough issue, and I guess the president should get the credit for that.
Okay. Well, you mentioned de-escalation. Are there forces that are interested in escalation? Let's ask, nakangiti si can you comment on that or no comment ka? No comment siya. Well, we'll go to the one who will really comment, si Rod. Meron bang gustong magkaroon ng escalation ng tension dyan?
I think nobody wants that situation to happen. Vietnam before tried that. What happened to them? Ilan ang kanilang destroyer na nasira, ilang kanilang mga barko nila na nagbarilan sila dyan eh. Talo sila. Now, walang makakaya. Even Malaysia is also attempting to establish military bases there, pero nahihirapan sila. Before that, nag-attempt pa nga ang French dyan eh. Ang French, nag-attempt din dyan. Ngayon, I'm not saying the Chinese position is correct, because there is one statement in the Chinese position when they said, they own that area since time immemorial. That statement is, to be honest with you, as a Filipino, I think that this statement is wrong. It is contrary to international law. Because under international law, there is also that what we call prescription. Ang sabihin niyan, kung meron dyan isang lupa, isang isla, iniwanan mo na pagkatagal-tagal, mapupunta talaga sa iba yan by prescription. Isa yan. At second, if by historic right na claim mo yan, yung sinasabi ng China, mahirap po yan. Kasi historically, ang Pilipinas naging hawak din ng Kastila. So, under ba tayo ng Espanya? Historically, hawak din ng Inglaterra yung buong North America. Ang ibig man nila sabihin, hawak pa rin sila ng Inglaterra. That's what I mean, you know. I think, we are not saying that the China, maliit talaga ang China doon, pero ang sabihin, kailangan magkaroon ng tinatawag na in-between na mag-halfway kayo. Yun ang ano ko lang.
It's subject to negotiation, and if negotiation doesn't work, traditionally naman, since time immemorial, territories are settled kung hindi magkasundo by force.
Correct.
Diba? The Russians and the Chinese in the Usuri River. Pero ngayon, very fine na ang relations nila dahil sumang-ayon na ang China doon sa line. Nagkasundo. Minsan, hindi maiwasan na magkasubukan. But, of course, there are a lot of arguments there. And when people say that the Chinese historic claim is not valid because history is not the only argument, tayo din, we also use the historic argument. We go back to the Treaty of Paris, we go back to precedents and so on. Then of course, sabi nung iba, hindi, yung batas and law of the sea. But the law of the sea itself, yung UNCLOS, maraming mga butas.
By the way, let me add there, malungkot yan eh. Hindi natin pwedeng invoke ang Treaty of Paris. Pag ginamit mo talagang measurement ng Treaty of Paris, hindi kasali yun eh.
Yun na nga eh.
Hindi kasali yun eh. In fact, ang ano lang talaga dyan, ang nagbibigay lang sa atin ng justification dyan is
UNCLOS.
United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Yun lang talaga yun kasi nagkaroon ng 200-mile limit. But ang 200-mile limit simply means the exclusive right to exploit its natural resources. It does not include sovereignty over that area. Bibigyan mo pa rin ng free innocent passage yung mga vessels dyan na dadaan.
At the same time, maraming clauses din doon that nagbibigay ng escape clause for all those who signed it. Kaya, then the other argument na very prevalent is that proximity. Malapit sa atin eh.
Precisely. Oh, by the way, mabuti na mabanggit na yan. Kasi, I remember, before the Americans, the bases at Clark, yung base nila sa Subic at sa Clark, yung tinatawag na yan Scarborough Shoal. Ang tawag nila dyan, alam mo, gunnery yan eh. Parang yung aeroplano ng Amerikano. Ginagawang target practice sila ng araw.
Alam mo ba yan? Kasi his PMA and soldier.
Oo, ginagawa nila yan. And then, that was in the 50s or in the 60s. But then, China din, hindi pa ganun ka-powerful. Hindi pa sila ganun ka-assertive. Political, militarily and economically. But when the Americans came, ang problema naman natin, pinabayaan natin yun. Pero at that time, the United States Navy practically was claiming that as part of the bases. Doon sila nagpa-practice eh. Napabayaan.
One of the criteria you mentioned, with not explicitly, but that's what you meant, is presence, no? Yung nandoon ng buildings mo and so on, talagang pare-parehong wala naman eh, di ba? Until now, na naghahabulan na, no? Si Gayla was nodding at some point. You want to add anything to the discussion?
No, I just recall the baselines law.
Okay, yeah. Si Senator Trillanes was very particular about that. So, paano naging discussion doon ni Senator?
Actually, well, in my opinion, the senator's version was the most uncompromising of the four versions.
Yes.
However, it was not the one adopted.
Okay.
Yes. But he's still the primary author of the Baselines Act.
Okay. So yung proximity kasi sounds good until somebody brought it up in the discussion I had. Yung Batanes mas malapit sa Taiwan eh. Sabi ng mga Taiwanese dapat sa Taiwan yun, di ba? So proximity is also eternally debatable if you want to.
It is well within the 200-mile limit. 70 miles lang ang Palatago, Scarborough. 70 lang yan eh. Ang UNCLOS is 200.
No, sabi naman, doon sa controversy sa Diaoyu Island or yung Senkaku na sa Japan, ang China daw is using the UNCLOS argument. I don't know. I have not studied that. But I go back to the question, meron bang gustong mag-provoke ng escalation of tensions? My contention is yes. For example, doon sa Japan, yung Senkaku and Diaoyu, ano nangyari doon? It used to be in private hands. Bakit on September 11, pinirmahan, on that date also, yung kontrata for the Japanese government, I think what prefecture or kung anong Tokyo or the prefecture, I don't know their technical name for it. Effectively nationalizing it.
Yeah.
Why do that when tahimik naman for so many decades yung issue niyan, although alam ng lahat may dispute diyan. Bakit gagawin? Merong gustong. Kasabay noon, dumating si Leon Panetta ng US State Department, Defense Secretary ba, si Leon Panetta, at nag-anunsyo, we have a second radar for the missile defense system. Merong gustong manggatong ng sitwasyon dito. Is the military man, does the military man have a reaction to what I said?
Well, I wish sure that there will be nobody who would want to provoke tension or start a war. But it's not far from reality, sir, na
So,
meron.
maingat siya sa mga we're not sure, but it's not far from the truth
But,
or the reality.
Let me add to that. Alam mo yung nabanggit mo na rin lang yung issue niyan between China and China, yung China and Japan sa Senkaku, as the Japanese would like to call it, and Daoyu sa mga China. At the outset, talo hapon doon. At the outset, talo sila.
Talong hapon.
Alam mo, economically, sapul na sapul sila dyan.
Yung
Economically, sapul sila dyan.
may threat na to crush the bond, Japanese bonds, because China holds
Sapul na
250 billion of Japanese bonds.
Tapos mo sila kasi alam mo, una-una, nagpasakay sila sa Amerikano, tama ka dun eh. Pag nagsumakay ka sa Amerikano, at hindi pa nagsisimula gera, talo na sila dyan eh. Wala naman pinag-iwan, laging talo yung Hapon ngayon eh. Katulad ng pagdidikta ng Amerikano, devalue yung yen. Nagka-devalue yung yen. Wala na bumibili ng produkto ng Hapon ngayon, napakamahal.
Kailangan pumasok sila sa China.
Precisely. Hindi nag-iisip na, nag-iisip pa ba Hapon na yun.
Japan and Germany are both defeated countries. They are still under the thumb of the victors. But of course, may tension yan. But they're expanding the Okinawa base over the objection of the Okinawans. And in South Korea, the U.S. is building Jeju, a new base in Jeju, 120 hectares, over the opposition of the South Koreans also. So when you come to talk about power play, which is a whole program again, which probably we should do one of these days. Okay, dito sa kontrobersya, maraming paninira kay Trillanes na wala namang ginagawa yan. So let's listen to Gayla kung anong mga accomplishments over the past, may 3 years na ba? 2.5 years, no? 2 years na ba?
2.5.
2.5. Sige, go ahead, Gayla.
Senator Trillanes is actually the 4th most productive senator in terms of the number of bills and resolutions filed as per the Senate Bills and Index record. And out of these 712 bills and resolutions, 27 have been passed into law. And the senator also chairs the Committee on Civil Service and Government Reorganization and the Senate Committee on Amateur Sports Competitiveness. And actually, he regularly holds committee hearings every now and then. So the office of the senator is actually very productive.
So kayo, kawawa, na-overwork kayo.
And the senator is a hardworking boss.
One thing I noticed, of course, when I visit the office of Senator Trillanes, and compared to the other offices there, pagpasok mo parang submarino eh. Ang daming taong nakasikip doon sa maliit na opisina. Parang submarino talaga na kulang na lang periscope.
Ano ginagawa na doon?
Periscope. Yung nga, silang mga nakaupo doon.
Maliit kasi.
Maliit.
Yung room na maliit lang.
But you have an extension office na downstairs or somewhere, no?
Yes.
Okay, and highlight some of the legislative, some of the laws that have been passed na importante kay Senator Trillanes.
I think perhaps one of the most important and ito relevant was sa mga government employees is the law which mandates that government agencies give the retirement pay of government employees 30 days following their retirement. And the difference with this law, kasi may mga IRR na ho na gano'n naman sa iba, is that may teeth po ito may penal provision siya. Before, parang prescriptive lang siya. Ngayon ho, ano na po siya, yun po.
Okay. I wanted to update also with Cash here. yung Magdalo, ano?
Yes.
What is the progress of Magdalo as a organization, as a national organization, and what are your objectives right now? Tuloy pa ba yan? No?
Tuloy pa to, sir. And yun nga, sir, during our times in detention, sir, we have opened the Magdalo to the public.
Membership,
yes,
public membership.
Yung membership, sir. And it is a volunteer organization. And at present, sir, we have about 170,000 card-bearing members nationwide. And we are conducting social projects and like food distribution programs, medical missions, hanggang sa rescue and relief, sir, nung sa Habagat and nung Typhoon Ondoy, present kami doon sa mga nasa lanta, sir.
And are you going to participate in the next elections as a party list?
Yes, sir. We are planning to participate in the party list system. At present, sir, we have submitted all the requirements sa COMELEC, and we are awaiting accreditation for the Magdalo para sa Filipino party list.
You are going to be the third nominee, and the first nominee is Gary Alejano, who's your chairman o secgen ng Magdalo.
He is the president of the Samahang Magdalo, sir.
And then the second nominee will be Ace Asedillo, your spokesperson,
yes, sir.
whom we've had here maybe twice, and you will be the third nominee.
Yes.
Okay, with 175,000 card bearing, multiplied by 5 or 10 friends and family members, you seem to have 3 candidates assured a role in the Congress. We have 2 or 1 minute left, you know? So we will let the elder do the honors of concluding our discussion.
Well, actually, ang masasabi ko lang dyan is si Senator Trillanes, ano na lang yan, pinapaliwanag niya yung explain inside niya tungkol sa accusation sa kanya ni Enrile. Kasi that is most important dahil mayroong binibintang sa kanya na hindi maganda eh. Sabi niya, treachery, something like that, or sort of treason. It's not good. He has to explain that. Of course, alam mo naman to, wild card din paminsan-minsan so si Enrile. Yun lang ang importante dyan.
Okay, and my wrap-up would be less polite. Enrile like Ninoy Aquino in revealing the Jabidaw program, which was a state secret, Enrile revealing or exposing diplomatic communication that is confidential, is the traitor. I think the public should hear this. And I challenge him, di ba? To deny that, and challenge us also to prove that. Our proof is his own admission that he read it.
But he cannot be Julian Assange.
He cannot be Julian. He's far from Julian Assange. So si Enrile and then Del Rosario should come out and say, I am not a green card holder if this is not true.
Correct. Yan ang importante.
Sasabihin niya, anong obligasyon niya? You are a public official. There are rumors inside the Department of Foreign Affairs. And it has been written by some people from the Department of Foreign Affairs in the newspapers. Hindi ito biro-biro. If you're an American citizen, you may be working as a penetration agent of a foreign state. Kaya we have to end. There's so much more that we want to discuss, but maraming salamat sa ating mga guests and sa inyo rin. And yung mga nakalista dito na pinadalhan na ng DVD, just wait for it. It's going to arrive. And by the way, I used the postal office. Dumating naman on time. Yung sa Mindanao, sa Baguio at iba pa, it takes 2 or 3 more days. So more of them will be receiving it in the coming days. Maraming salamat and have a good weekend. So, Cash, pwede ka nang